Hi everyone and welcome to my place. I've been listening to what you've been requesting and I have spent quite a bit of time researching the best way of showing you how to use either a fresh fern or an artificial fern, and how to very, very quickly take your beautiful fern, whatever fern that you're using, and using either fresh or artificial flowers and using the green of your plant as a base. I also wanted to tick off a few questions I've had in regard to what kind of a container is the best to use for doing different types of arrangements. Personally, I really love the good old-fashioned classic urn, but if you're into contemporary stuff, this design will definitely work either way, either with a nice round container or a nice squared chiseled container. Doesn't really matter. So what I wanted to do with this design, it's going to be a wee bit mucky, but it is all going to work because I'm going to show you how to do a design using just an oncidium. You might have some fresh, or you might have some artificial, you might have some cymbidium orchids, you might have some Singapore type orchids that you want to use. You might also want something that's permanent into something that is living. So let me just show you how easy it is. Right, this here is this fern I've just had outside. It's either outside or it's inside, and when somebody is coming and I want to sort of do some fresh flowers and I don't have time, this is my standby arrangement or start off display that I use. So you would, even these little brown bits here, just go around and just cut all those off because they do dry off as you go through. So I've got 4 of these oncidiums, which I absolutely love. And don't forget, they do come from China and they come in a box. So you just have to sort of like just manipulate some of those little wee bits of green out of there. And it's just a matter of just quietly going in amongst your ferns, and then you can just go through and just stick these into your arrangement, and it just takes it to, for me anyway, it's just the quickest and easiest arrangement to create. Now I've done lots and lots of these for weddings throughout the years, and everybody just looks at them and just thinks they're just absolutely amazing because it's pretty much just getting your living plant and then just quietly going in amongst there and just putting your orchids into it. Now, if you don't have your living plant, let me show you how to do the same thing, doing it with artificials. But it is quite a good cheats way of producing an arrangement. So we'll get rid of that and then do what I actually wanted to do. Now that was for Genevieve. Genevieve asked for that, so I hope I've been of assistance to you. Okay, so if you wanted to do something that was permanent, that you could have in the house all year round, I've got 2 containers here. I've got the cream one and I've got the black one. Lots and lots of people have said to me as to which container is the best coloured container to be using. Now, I just thought that today would be the best way of showing you. Right, so I've got the white container there, and putting that into there, it's okay with the white, with the yellow, but sometimes by just altering up the colour of your container, you can actually really lift the whole arrangement up another level. And I liken it to a beautiful face that's all made up and no lipstick, and it just looks like it needs something else, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So to me, this is a little bit beige and a little bit insipid, but by using the black container, it's actually going to enhance and lift this design. So I'll just show you what I'm meaning. So just by putting that into there, see how it just sort of like lifts it just another level? The other reason why I want to use the dark container is when you look into this, now I'll just take this out and I'll bring it up closer to the camera. When you look into these little wee oncidiums, you'll notice that there's the little dark colour in there, and to me that just is taking the depth and darkness of your container and then bringing it, look, as it drifts up, the little black bits, the little brown bits in there diffuses the heaviness of the colour of your container. Right, I hope I've ticked off another few questions. Also, what I've done into here is I've just filled it with some foam. If you're using fresh, you would use the green. If you're using artificial, you would use the grey foam. Another little question I have to just answer while we're here is, always remember that the green soaks up water, and that's why it's a lesser, how can I explain it? The fibres are a little looser so that when you stick your flowers into it, they are inserted easier. If you try to put your fresh flowers into the grey, you'll find that they break off and they will die. And the grey is a heavier composition so that when you shove your forms into it, it actually stays. Now, the next question I have to answer is, a lot of people have said to me, but Astar, I don't have access to any moss. And I do love this moss, and I use this moss all the time, and especially when I'm using fresh flowers, just a layer of that over the wet foam and the wet moss just helps to keep that moisture content down into the foam. I also like to use it on the grey as well, but in a dried form to cover the workings. That's all the moss is doing, or whatever fibre you're going to use, whether it's leaves or whatever, a little bits of foliage to cover your workings. Now, for those of you who can't get the moss, what I use is lots and lots of times is this is the coconut fibre that you buy for the insides of your hanging baskets. This is fantastic, and it just all shreds away. And as I said, it's only going to be used to cover the foam that I'm using. So that I'm just going to push into there, and from a distance it looks like a little bit of dirt, so that will do for me. Now, when it comes to designing, you could just use the orchids on their own and just insert them into there. But if you want to take it to another level, what I like to do, especially when I'm using something like orchids, is to start off with a nice lush fern or something into the bottom. Now, it's no different from using the fresh maiden hair fern that I've got here. I just feel that it needs something else apart from just the orchids on its own. That's just a personal thing, and I just find that it just sort of like fills the container and adds another dimension. From there, it's just a matter of getting your orchids and just inserting those down and pushing them right down into the foam, as I've done. You might have some people put the fibre matting in or the moss in first. But I like to put it in after the design is finished. But personally, I like to put it in at this stage. And I know I've got to go in there and use my finger to just have a wee feel around. And then these here just are placed, and the new word that I like to use now for my designing is, and the trend from what I've just discovered as I've gone hunting around to see what everybody else is doing in the floral designing world, is to place your flowers and your foliage as if naturally occurring. Oops, hold on, just got to get my finger in here and make a hole in that so that I can get it in. And we'll just push that down and into there. Now, to take it to another level, look at that, that just looks so good. It is looking as if it's naturally occurring. If you wanted to enhance it a little bit further, even though this foliage doesn't go with it, you could actually also, just to give a little bit more height, insert that into there, which takes it up. And then the other thing that I like to do is just getting some single stems of whatever flower you're using, cut those down quite low, and then these are just going to just be placed down and a little bit lower down into your design, like so, just to sort of build it out just a little bit more and to give it just a little bit more flow and that absolutely lovely, almost as growing appearance. Oh, there we go. Look at that. How easy was that? And now you've got a standalone design that will last and last and last. The other thing that you could do if you wanted to is just using soil. You could fill your container with soil, and then you could place the little wee baby pots of living plants like little ferns, and you could just dot those all around there, or just place them into the soil, and then that would just continue to grow, and you've got your flowers coming out almost like a potted fleur, which I've done over the years. So I hope that I have ticked off all the questions that have been asked, and that this design, you might like to do it, and it has place in your home that will enhance your interiors. Hope you've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed sharing with you, and I will see you all again another day.